All right, here we go. You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Hope all of you watching are having a fantastic week. And no matter how you're tuned in or where you're tuned in from, thank you so much for making NBA Now a part of your day. Before we dive into the latest NBA news and rumors around LeBron James and Kevin Durant, today's show is sponsored by Mint Mobile. On America's largest 5G network, which has great range from coast to coast, like a Steph Curry three-point ball, they're also changing the game with cell phone plans as little as $15 per month. Start saving money today by heading to mintmobile.com/chatsports. I'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. So we begin with Kevin Durant, then we'll pivot to LeBron James. A lot of fascinating stuff going on that front. According to reports, Kevin Durant set to meet with Nets ownership this week as that trade request lingers. And he is set to meet with Joe Tsai to discuss what's going to happen next with this Brooklyn Nets organization, and that Kevin Durant trade request is still out there, but the market up to this point a little bit stagnant and slow. So reports to catch you up on this coming from Heavy. Durant going to meet with the owner Joe Tsai this week. He's still unhappy about a couple of things that have transpired since he signed that contract and that max deal with the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, the future of Kyrie Irving also up in the air. And it's unknown right now, according to sources within the organization and close to Kevin Durant, about whether or not these issues are going to get fixed. Now, if you think about it from the franchise's perspective and Kevin Durant's perspective, who has the power right now? It seems as though it's Brooklyn that has some of the leverage here. Why is that? Kevin Durant entering the first year of his max contract, and the Nets, in my opinion, have actually built a pretty good roster around KD. So if the trade request doesn't come to reality and Kevin Durant is able to patch up some of the malcontents that he has with this organization and some of the issues that he had with the Nets, and he goes back to Brooklyn, this right here, folks, is a pretty good roster. This is my best swing and guess at what the starting five would be. It would be one of the top 10 starting fives in the NBA. Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris with some shooting, Kevin Durant, a walking bucket on all three levels, Nicholas Claxton, a serviceable big man who re-signed in free agency to hold it down low, and then Ben Simmons in that Draymond Green role, which is what I would use him as if I'm head coach Steve Nash. Offers this team a lot, especially versatility on the offensive and defensive end, one of the league's best defenders still, and an elite passer to set up the shooter Joe Harris and Kyrie Irving, as well as Kevin Durant. And then what the Nets have done just building the roster elsewhere, trading for Royce O'Neal, bringing in TJ Warren. They re-signed Patty Mills, who was top 5 in three-point percentage last year. They also have Seth Curry, who's one of the best marksmen from downtown as well. And for Durant, he could still play at a really, really elite level. Obviously, the concern this past year, the year before that, and the previous history that we've seen with KD as he gets a little bit older and the mileage racks up on the legs, he's been a little bit injury prone, foot issues, knee issues. So at 34 years old, entering the first year of that max contract that he signed last offseason, a little bit of a concern about how he ages, but the Nets right now, they have the leverage, in my opinion. They don't have to trade away KD. They don't have to trade away Kyrie Irving because Durant signed the deal, Kyrie opted in, and they have made win-now moves that KD and Kyrie should be happy about. So it would be a good basketball situation for KD to go back to New York and play in Brooklyn once again. Now, we talked about that lineup, the starting five, as well as some of those bench pieces. Where do you think the Nets rank among all teams operating under the premise that KD and Kyrie return? There are 30 teams in the NBA, so rank where the Nets would be from 1 to 30 with KD and Kyrie. Coming up next on the show, an ESPN NBA expert said, keep an eye on LeBron James reuniting with the Cleveland Cavaliers for the third time if he doesn't re-sign with the Los Angeles Lakers and becomes a free agent in 2023. Can't wait to dive into that, but first, today's show is sponsored by Mint Mobile. Unlimited premium wireless plans starting as low as $15 per month. You may have heard of them before. It's a cell phone company owned by the famous actor Ryan Reynolds, who has starred in a bunch of great films. Those films just as good as America's largest 5G network, which is where Mint Mobile service hangs out. What's also cool about Mint Mobile, digital eSIM cards, so you don't have to waste your time by going to a store and having to wait in line for your phone to get activated. You also don't have to get a new cell phone number or a new physical phone, and you get unlimited talk and text. Start saving money today by going to mintmobile.com/chatsports. We'll pepper that link in the comment section and the description of this video. Next up on the show, what's next for LeBron James? He is eligible to sign a 2-year, $97 million contract extension with the Los Angeles Lakers here in early August. If he doesn't, he can become an unrestricted free agent in 2023. As for the contractual fine print details, the 2-year term is the maximum allowed under the collective bargaining agreement. If agreed to, LeBron James would bump up his career earnings to $532 million, which is the highest grossing ever for an NBA player, which down the road is going to get overtaken as the NBA becomes a more richer league, as the salary cap continues to rise, and as these contracts continue to increase as well. But either way, $500 million in playing earnings, not entering the equation is that Nike deal, all of the other endorsements, and all of the other money that he's making in his business acquisitions as well. And this is also interesting. If LeBron doesn't re-sign with the Los Angeles Lakers, it opens up an opportunity for LeBron to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. There is something special brewing in Cleveland right now, and according to that aforementioned NBA expert with ESPN, keep an eye on the Cleveland Cavaliers to swoop in and maybe sign LeBron James if he goes back home for a third reunion with Cleveland. The team, really, really good. Led by Darius Garland, first-time All-Star last year. Jarrett Allen had a breakout campaign. Evan Mobley is like a mini Giannis, in my opinion. They have a really good complementary cast of some really, really good players, both as starters and as bench players. And according to Bobby Marks, he said, don't rule out the Cavs if LeBron decides to not re-sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. And this is interesting on a couple of fronts. LeBron James is thinking about his legacy. Steph Curry has 4 rings. LeBron James has 4 rings. It's becoming more and more of a conversation that Steph Curry might be the best player of this generation. We know that LeBron James has been chasing Michael Jordan's 6 NBA championships, Kobe Bryant's 5. Now he's tied with Steph Curry. And that thought has entered the equation, and in the mind of LeBron James, that Curry might be deemed as the better player of this generation. And LeBron, if he looks at the Los Angeles Lakers being in a precarious position moving forward with the lack of players and the lack of draft assets and the inability to improve the roster to chase championships, well, the Cleveland Cavaliers seem like a perfect destination for him. Has familiarity with the organization. It'd be a great story, him going back home to Cleveland for a third time in a reunion. The Cavaliers, from their standpoint, wouldn't have to give up any of their really attractive young assets because LeBron would be a free agent. They wouldn't have to trade for him to gut that roster. Very, very fascinating stuff. And of course, we'll continue to keep you up to date with all things going down on the NBA front. For the best NBA coverage, 365, you got to hit that red sub button down below or head to that link, youtube.com/chatsportstv. And if you are subscribed to the channel, I want to hear from you because we have a saying here at Chat Sports. We like to work and we like to act as though we are real ones. We keep it honest. We do our best to give you the best coverage, and for those of you to show us that support, you're a real one. So type real one if you're subscribed, and if you're not subscribed, you ain't a real one. Become one right now by hitting that red sub button. As for what Bobby Marks had to say about the King, until a James extension is signed in Los Angeles, the Cleveland Cavaliers should be a team to keep an eye on next offseason. Cleveland doubled its win total from 2 years ago to this past year, 22-42, and was one of the best success stories last year, despite losing in the play-in tournament. The Cavaliers have a strong nucleus consisting of Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, and could have more than $30 million in cap space in 2023. Would James return for a third tenure in Cleveland if he views the Lakers roster as not championship worthy? Keep an eye on it. Best spot for LeBron James. When you talk about those two teams and the future of both organizations, what is it? CLE for Cleveland, LAL for the Los Angeles Lakers. Sound off, chime in, and join the conversation right now in the comments section. And if you have any questions about anything on the NBA front, let me know. Hit me up on my social media accounts at Chase_Senior. It's the same handle on both Twitter as well as Instagram. I got to be honest. You hit me up with a Twitter mention, I'll be more likely to respond because it's just easier to see. Either way, you want to chop it up. Life advice as well at Chase_Senior. Can't wait to hear from a lot of you. Give me a follow right now.